Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. I'm Errol Louis. After months of not taking a stand, Governor Kathy Hochul is poised to sign legislation that would make it legal for New Yorkers to take lethal medication if they are suffering from a terminal illness. But Hochul says that she wants lawmakers to make some changes to the bill under consideration, meaning that she will not be signing anything this year. Our State House reporter Bernadette Hogan joins me with tonight's top story. Good evening.
Good evening, Errol. But it looks like lawmakers are on board with those proposed amendments, meaning that New York could be the next state to legalize physician-assisted suicide.
This is one of the toughest decisions I've ever made as governor.
Governor Kathy Hochul is on board with a proposal that would make it legal for terminally ill New Yorkers to take lethal drugs. Announcing Wednesday, she will sign the Medical Aid in Dying Act once a series of changes are made to prevent abuse or coercion.
I brought back some memories of my own story with my mom, and I was at her side when she was in her final months fighting a debilitating illness, ALS.
Hochul's new requirements include an oral request recorded by video or audio, adding a mandatory waiting period of 5 days between when a prescription is written and then filled, a mandatory mental health evaluation by a psychologist or psychiatrist, and limiting access to New York residents. Speaking to advocates and reflecting on her mother's death, the Catholic governor said she attended a funeral that helped deliver her decision.
My last thoughts were sitting at a funeral, a Catholic funeral, Saturday morning, this past weekend, and I heard the priest talk about being called home to eternal life, not in a hospital bed with strangers at a time when they just slip away after grueling pain.
It also requires approval from medical professionals, bars anyone who may benefit financially from the patient's death from serving as a witness or interpreter, and eligible individuals must be diagnosed with 6 months or less to live. But opponents say
the fact that she introduced amendments to this policy demonstrates that she knows how dangerous the core of the bill is.
The New York State Catholic bishop said in a statement, quote, "This new law signals our government's abandonment of its most vulnerable citizens, telling people who are sick or disabled that suicide in their case is not only acceptable, but is encouraged by our elected leaders."
What we see in this policy is a scenario where we are making it easier for patients who want to access treatment but cannot afford to access instead lethal drugs.
But the measure won't be signed into law before January 1st. The Democratic-led state legislature must pass the bill again before Hochul can sign it into law. And after that, it will be 6 months before eligible New Yorkers may access the medication.
In this process, lost my sister and lost my mom. It's at the very end that you have excruciating pain. Up till then, it's manageable. You live your life. It's really at the end.
This is something that is popular among constituents. Personal liberty, bodily autonomy, issues of conscience. Those are issues that I think voters understand pretty clearly.
Advocates argue they should have the choice.
A year ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 prostate cancer. It came out of the blue, a shock, and so there is a level of urgency with this legislation.
And if this is signed into law, as the governor promises, then New York would be the 13th state, along with the District of Columbia, to make this legal.
What's your sense of whether there is some sort of large pent-up demand that would make a law necessary?
Well, you know, there have been advocates lining the halls of Albany for at least the last decade, right, that I've been covering the State House. And there was really never a sense that this was going to pass until last year. There all of a sudden was this movement that it was going to pass both chambers. It passed with a very tight margin in the State Assembly. It also passed at the end of the legislative session as everybody was really focused on the mayoral election, the very tight primary down in New York City. So the argument is that, you know, there hasn't been a hearing on this in many years. Yes, it does poll popularly as an idea, absolutely. If you look at the Siena College poll's most recent numbers on this. But the question really is, you know, is there a huge groundswell of support for this? I would argue no.
Okay, we will find out, I guess, in the next session. Thanks very much, Bernadette. With just 2 weeks to go until his swearing in, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani named 2 more members of his team today, including one who will play a critical role in trying to get his top priorities passed up in Albany. Our Bobby Kuza was at the announcement and joins us now with more. Good evening, Bobby.
Good evening, Errol. And there has been a lot of commentary on the slow pace of appointments up to this point on the part of Mamdani. But there was 2 today. I mean, up until this point, we only knew about 3, the chief of staff, the first deputy mayor, and the police commissioner. So now we've got 5 altogether, and Mamdani has promised there will be more to come, including later this week.
Come January, Jamila Edwards will be director of the Mayor's Office of Intergovernmental Affairs after serving for more than 10 years as a top official at District Council 37, the city's largest municipal union. Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani said she helped turn DC 37 into a mighty political force and helped achieve major policy wins.
Millions of New Yorkers have seen their wages rise, their lives improve thanks to the $15 minimum wage hike that she helped to secure.
Edwards was one of 2 appointments Mamdani announced Wednesday. The other is Kat Almonte da Costa, who will serve as Director of Appointments after working in the same office and in other roles under Mayor de Blasio.
Too often, government fails to attract the very best talent. But New Yorkers deserve excellence, expertise, leadership equal to the scale of the challenges that we face.
While both officials will do their work behind the scenes, intergovernmental affairs will play a critical role, given that state approval is required for some of Mamdani's top campaign promises.
2 of them will require a sustained partnership with Albany in making buses fast and free and delivering universal child care. And the relationships that we will develop in Albany will be critical to the success. The relationships we will develop at the city council will be critical to the success of day-to-day ensuring that we are delivering for this city.
I think that the conversations will be fruitful. There is a lot of commonalities in some of the goals that Kathy, the governor, has for the upcoming year.
While taking questions at the announcement in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, Mamdani also commented on the Knicks winning the NBA Cup and may have committed a minor gaffe when he was then told he was in the land of the Brooklyn Nets.
Well, I don't know. That's to me, that's New Jersey. But I'm gonna have to clean that up tomorrow.
So again, Mamdani said he will be making some more announcements later on this week. By the way, I mentioned there's 5 altogether that have been announced so far. 4 out of those 5 worked for Bill de Blasio, including Camilla Edwards, who had worked in the DOE under de Blasio. She was back during de Blasio's public advocate days. She was deputy chief of staff, and DaCosta also worked for him as an executive assistant, and then later worked on the de Blasio re-election campaign. So a lot of de Blasio ties early on in the growing Mamdani administration. So we'll see. And then also there's the ties to DC 37, right? Jamila Edwards worked there, and now DC 37 has to negotiate with the Mamdani administration. I believe the contract is up next year, so we'll see if that works in their favor.
Right, and she wasn't just kind of sitting around. She was high-ranking at DC 37.
Yeah, I mean, right? She was essentially the political director. That wasn't her title, but she was involved in in all these different initiatives that they're trying to get passed. She interfaced with all these different government officials, so she comes in with a lot of experience.
Okay, then that's the key, experience all across the board. Thanks very much, Bobby. Let's take a short break now. When we come back, tomorrow will mark the City Council's final meeting of the year. We'll bring you a preview of what is on the agenda. That's coming up next. And then straight ahead, for nearly 4 years, Adrienne Adams has been making history as the first black woman to become Speaker of the City Council. This morning, I sat down with her at City Hall, and we talked about the council's accomplishments under her leadership and her final thoughts as she prepares to leave office. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost. And that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure. Why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. We've done at the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. The City Council could be going out with a bang tomorrow as local lawmakers set up to vote on a flurry of bills, some of which face stiff opposition. Our Kelly Mena has much in this report on the council's final scheduled meeting of the term.
Good afternoon and welcome to the stated meeting of December. Those words are going to be uttered just one more time this year on Thursday. That is when the City Council will hold its final stated meeting of the session. As many as 70 bills could be voted on Thursday, with some already facing opposition.
These are buildings at risk and under a lot of stress with tenants who are in unsafe conditions.
City Councilwoman Sandy Nurse's bill, known as COPA, would allow for a trusted list of not-for-profit housing groups first bid at buying distressed buildings with 5 or more units. The real estate industry and small landlords oppose the bill, citing their right to sell to the buyer of their choosing and for complicating the sale process. Nurse and advocates say it's about preserving affordable housing in the city.
A lot of times these buildings that are in disrepair and distress are bought up by venture capitalists from all over the world, from Argentina, Germany, China. We don't have any accountability over these actors.
Another bill looks to open up the city to more short-term rentals. However, the legislation is currently at risk of not getting a vote. One that is on the calendar is a bill that would require projects that receive certain public financing to include 2- and 3-bedroom units. Meanwhile, there are a few vendor bills on the calendar, one that would lift the cap on street vendor licenses. 2 others deal with deactivation or firing without review of app-based delivery workers and rideshare drivers.
Every worker deserves notice and fair process before they lose their livelihood.
City Councilman Shaker Krishnan said his bill is about allowing rideshare drivers the opportunity to fight back against unjust firings. Uber and Lyft have criticized the legislation for not allowing unsafe drivers to be removed easily.
When drivers are fired, they lose their livelihood, their ability to pay their rent, their mortgage, to pay for childcare.
There's also legislation dealing with police transparency. One bill would give professional journalists access to police radio frequencies. Another would allow the Civilian Complaint Review Board direct access to body camera footage. The Police Benevolent Association president has called the legislation an unnecessary power grab. Other legislation that will be voted on includes a bill that would clarify the city's sanctuary city laws, including not allowing ICE to open up offices in the city's jails. Separately, the Standards and Ethics Committee is set to meet in the morning on Thursday to decide whether to open up an investigation into the Islamophobic social media posts of City Councilwoman Vicky Palladino. Kelly Mena, New York 1.
It is time for a break. Coming up, we'll bring you my wide-ranging exit interview with City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams. We'll talk about the body's final meeting tomorrow, as well as her thoughts about Mayor-elect Mamdani and outgoing Mayor Eric Adams, and her own campaign for mayor. Stay with us.
at the closing doors, please.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for Onstage.
Onstage is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Discover which Cadillac is right for you and elevate your journey.
It's only a hike. It's only made possible by Spectrum Business connecting healthcare providers of all sizes. Like hospitals relying on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network with industry-leading reliability. Practices keeping patient data safe with advanced security. Pharmacies accessing records in the cloud without fail. It's tailored connectivity solutions built for life-changing moments. It's only a hike. It's only everything. Spectrum Business.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard. At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood, because our city never stops moving.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories, but first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Ahead of the final meeting of the year for the full City Council, I sat down with outgoing City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams for a wide-ranging exit interview where we talked about several of the contentious pieces of legislation on the docket tomorrow, as well as potential consequences for City Council member Vicky Palladino after her Islamophobic comments. We also talked about Mayor-elect Mamdani's readiness to lead the city, her time leading the first women-majority City Council, and much more. Here's the first part of our conversation. Madam Speaker, thanks so much for talking with us the day before your final council meeting.
It is such a pleasure to speak with you, as always, though.
I know there's a lot on the agenda, and I actually want to get through some of what we're likely to see in this final meeting. The council has been considering a bill that would raise the salary of council members. Now, my understanding is that that's not necessarily going to be on the agenda, but what's the status of that question?
Well, I believe it comes from the fact that neither Mayor de Blasio or Mayor Adams actually put this up for discussion via commission or anything else. So this has been 10 years that City Council and other elected officials have been waiting for at least a conversation around pay raises. I won't see any of this, but the hearing was yesterday, so it has been heard.
Okay. There's a bill under consideration that would give nonprofit housing groups the right to make a first offer to purchase certain apartment buildings that an owner might want to sell. In effect, a right of first refusal. What is the goal of giving that kind of advantage to nonprofits?
It's opening it up. It's creating more equity all around. This council has been so focused on affordability before it even became a buzzword, Errol. So everything around housing and all of our work around housing really has to do with opening it up to as many folks as possible, folks that are able to buy, folks that are able to sell. Everybody that needs something in the way of housing should be able to have a part of it. We are really in such a pinch to make sure that we make affordability a reality in New York.
Has that passed scrutiny by the council's lawyers as far as whether it will survive a court challenge?
Everything that we do goes through negotiation and deliberation with several entities before we ever bring a vote to the floor or anything like that. All of those discussions are typically a part of the negotiation process.
Okay. On the housing question, there's a bill, Intro 407A, that would require co-op boards to inform unsuccessful prospective buyers of the reasons that they've been turned down. This has been kicking around the council for at least a decade. Is it going to get a vote?
As with so many pieces of legislation, we are still talking, even at this nth hour in negotiation, still talking about areas of concern around several pieces of legislation. This one, again, is a part of that discussion and continued negotiation. So, as we like to say in the council, still going through the legislative process, and we're going to see what happens whenever we pass bills or put bills up for a vote. We want to make sure that we're successful in passage, but we also want to make sure that there are not unintended consequences that follow the decision when it comes towards legislation.
There's a bill in particular to give the Civilian Complaint Review Board access to NYPD body-worn camera footage. That's, I mean, sort of a legacy item. That would sort of make a fundamental change that would survive this council and your tenure. Is that likely to pass, do you think?
I hope it does, and we are still trying to bring our law enforcement partners up to transparency. Everybody wants more transparency, it seems, except for our law enforcement partners, but we are hoping that that does best. And you know, to be perfectly candid, this will put us on par with the state. So it's not something that's not already happening at the state level. This will just bring the city on par with what's already happening at the state.
There's a bill to expand the number of street vending licenses, which is something that I think every New Yorker will notice if it actually goes through.
This, our vendor reform needs to happen. Now, when we take into consideration that there are a fraction of licenses out there, this should have happened a long time ago as far as opening up licensing for vendors so that the word illegal is no longer attached to vending. This is the purpose of this legislation. And there's also going to be strict enforcement for those that are not in compliance. So that will happen as well. So we've taken all of these things into consideration.
Okay. There's something that just happened this week. One of the members of the council, Vicky Palladino of Queens, published a message calling for the expulsion of Muslims from the Western nations and talk about denaturalizing the people and then removing them from the country. I know some members of your staff are Muslim, actually. Ran into FISA a little bit earlier. I wonder what they think about all of this. I mean, you know, because this is a workplace, right? That kind of talk doesn't normally go on in most people's jobs.
That's right. It does not, and it does not go on in this workplace. The council member, of course, you know, says what she says, and I put out my statement very, very quickly condemning her tweet, which drew the ire of so many, rightfully so. This is going to go before Standards and Ethics Committee tomorrow. It's been calendared, so the issue will go before Standards and Ethics, as is policy. I know many folks think that the speaker can just take a broad brush and expel and remove and censure. That is not within the power of the speaker. It is within that committee, of which it's an independent committee, independent from the speaker.
It's interesting because it is tricky. This is an elected official, and so you don't get to simply, you know, you're not her boss, right?
Exactly.
Does the council as a whole, in the whole scheme of things, in the city charter, in its relationship with the mayor on the other side of City Hall, are you in the right place as far as your ability to sort of move the levers of government the way you would like to?
It's been interesting the past couple of years, particularly with ballot proposals that the council has, you know, come against certain ballot proposals and the commissions that the mayor has impaneled, and we took it or noticed it as being an erosion of council power. So it's something that we need to keep our eyes on. It's something that my colleagues will have to look toward in the future. The new speaker will have to take a look at this also. We've had erosion when it comes to housing, something that this council has put forth more than any council. As far as bringing housing into more housing in a generation. And lo and behold, we're looked at as the bad guys when it comes to housing. Still blows my mind right now. More housing has come through my leadership, quite frankly, than in generations for the city of New York in passing what is called the City of Yes, which we call City for All because we took it and we turned it into City for All. We put in that proposal many, many things that will protect New Yorkers.
Okay. So to the extent that you you got to know the mayor-elect, Zohran Mamdani, on the campaign trail, if nowhere else, at the debates and so forth and so on, is he ready for this? What would you want to suggest that he keep in mind as he takes up the job?
I think that he is proceeding very well right now in making sure that he has people around him who are experienced and knowledgeable, people that understand governing and strong governance, people that take into account what the people really need. He comes from a great place in his heart, and I admire that so much. I think most of us that have gotten to know him admire that and recognize that he is very sincere when it comes to wanting to protect New Yorkers, the interest of New Yorkers, affordability for New Yorkers, universal child care, just making life better, quality of life better for New Yorkers. Now, how do you do that, though? You make sure that you have the people around you that number one, believe in your vision, and number two, have done it or wanted to do it, helped to do it in the past. And I believe that he is getting that done in that reinforcement around him, making sure that the right people are in place to make sure that he's successful, because that's what we all want.
Okay. This is the first majority woman council in New York history.
Yeah.
How did that affect how you did business? I mean, how did the council perform that we can, you know, when we write the final history, say, this is what a woman-led body can do?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can start so many places in answering that question. Women are the backbone of our communities, dare I say of the nation. We give birth to nations. So it has been our responsibility and a part of our DNA to make sure that the foundation is laid wherever we go, be it in our homes, our jobs, our schools, our communities. We tend to do these things innately. So when we take a look at governing, we brought in every facet of the needs of the people. This is also the most diverse council in the history of the city of New York also. So my colleagues have taken into consideration those things that they live, those things that they see. What I see when I open my front door are the needs of my neighbors. And I've said time and time again, if I can't understand the needs of my neighbors when I open my front door, I have no business leading them, being their representative in the district or the representative for the city of New York. That, I believe, also has been the mantra.
It is time for a break. Coming up, we'll bring you part 2 of my conversation with City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams. That's coming up in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
My time at New York One has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Burke.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network, and factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jackamick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. In our second part of my wide-ranging interview with outgoing City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams, we started off by talking about her strained relationship with Mayor Eric Adams. Then we got into her campaign for mayor, the advice that she has for the Chamber's next speaker, and finally what job she might be going to next. Here's part two of our conversation. I saw elsewhere that when asked to grade the performance of Mayor Adams, you gave him a C-. And of course, you ended up running against him and trying to replace him. What do you think went wrong on the other side of the building?
It was a lack of determination of communication. And we started out, and I've mentioned this also, that I'm extremely disappointed in the way that our relationship ended up. I have always hoped for the best, for collaboration, for a great relationship.
You went to the same high school.
We went to the same high school. We graduated from Bayside High School. We're in the same yearbook, for crying out loud. And we started out actually having breakfast at a diner in Bayside when both of us were first sworn in as leaders. And at that time, we committed to talking, to keeping both sides of City Hall abreast of what was going on. And then we walked out and got in our vehicles and ended up in front of Bayside, and we took a picture in front of the high school that we graduated from together. And for me, that moment in time is still so impressive. It's left an impression upon me. And my hope then, and going into this role in co-leadership with the mayor, was that we would be able to keep the friendship, keep the collaboration, and grow the collaboration. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way, and it's not for a lack of trying on my part, but the door seemed to be closed and it was not reciprocated.
Wow. What advice would you give to Julie Menon, who has declared that she has enough votes to become the next speaker? Have you spoken with her about what all is going to be involved in this?
We will be sitting down and we will be talking, and I will give her the good, the bad, and everything in between. So my advice to the presumptive speaker would be to make sure that you are taking into account the needs of all of your colleagues and the districts that they reside in. I am an outer borough speaker, an outer borough speaker, if you will. My commute has been the longest of any speaker in the history of the city of New York. I live in South Jamaica, proudly live in South Jamaica. This is my commute on a daily basis to get here to this beautiful building that I still get a chill from walking up those steps every single day. My advice for her would be to get to know the districts that belong to your colleagues, get to know the outer boroughs that you will be responsible for, and those people that will be looking towards you for answers to make their quality of life better, to be able to give you input on what they need. Your door has to be open, your ears have to be open. More importantly, your heart has to be open to the people of the city of New York, all of them.
Well, just like most of your predecessors, you ran for higher office, it didn't work out. Is there something about the job that makes it hard to sort of emerge in a different role?
I wish I knew the answer to that. Somebody wrote it best. Last week I read it. Adrienne Adams wasn't supposed to ... And at the end of that was Adrienne Adams wasn't supposed to run for mayor. It was never my intention to run for mayor. You and I have spoken about this in the past also. I did not intend to run for mayor. I had high hopes for Eric Adams, extremely high hopes for Eric Adams. And my hope was that he would have a second term. And then things started to fall apart around his leadership. And while I sat back in my role and watched, things seemed to get worse and worse and worse, and we had our first indicted mayor in New York City. Then things progressed even more, and we saw 4 deputy mayors walk out the door at the same time. This, for me, was a turning point. Something snapped in my brain. These folks were the backbone, the infrastructure of the mayoral administration. If they had no more confidence in his leadership, what are the rest of us supposed to think? What are we supposed to do? I couldn't sit back and do nothing. I did not plan to get in the race to run, but at that point in time, I had to go ahead and I had to listen to my constituents that said, please get out there and get in the race. I had to listen to some of my colleagues that said, please get in that race. I had to listen to my family members that said, enough is enough. Please get in that race. And then, like I do with everything else, I prayed about it. And the answer was, get in the race. The victory is going to be for the people of the city of New York to see your example in running. Win, lose, or draw. You have to be a part of that race for mayor. And it was a fantastic run. It was an exhilarating run. I have no regrets. My kickoff was crazy incredible. The money that I raised in just a few days, Errol, more money than candidates that had been running for 2 years. And I instantly became among the top. And I just got there. And I was running against folks that have been running for 2 years. Right. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of that moment. So I don't really think there is a formula to, you know, any speakers before me, myself, getting into the race to run for mayor. I had no intention to do that. There was no laid out plan, there was no anything. The only regret, if any, would be what I hear all the time, what took you so long, Adrienne? Why'd you wait so long to get in that race? You should have gotten in a lot sooner. But again, I never intended to run. Timing is everything.
Well, finally, let me ask you, what's next after January?
The after January part is easy. I am going to do nothing for a few months, get back to myself, who I am, reconnect on the inner levels with my family, my children, my grandchildren. My husband's always been there. He's my rock, so he's always been there. But, you know, get reattached to my babies, whether they like it or not. Get reattached to them. I have since become a great-grandmother over the past, I'll break some news here, over the past few months. Fantastic. So I even have that, you know, that little boy. A part of my grand scheme and landscape of family life, beautiful blended family life. Yes. So I'm going to do that. And then when I emerge again, I will be on to the next great thing that God has for me to do, and I welcome it with open arms.
Okay. Well, I don't know what God might be saying, but the pundits are saying you'd be a splendid candidate for lieutenant governor going into next year. Is that a possibility?
Thank you. I never say never. I've had no conversation, contrary to some of our friends in the media world, in the political world. I have had no conversations and have not been approached to do that. But I never say never. My eyes and ears are always open.
This is, you know, by the way, we had some time as we were setting up to look at these exhibits that you have all throughout the council. Yes. And I'm looking at all of these different black women who are looking back at us.
Yes.
And some of them are the heroes, the angels from Staten Island who helped at a crucial moment during the discovery of a vaccine for tuberculosis. An amazing story unto itself. And then all these other people. That's right. It's going to be a little different after you guys are gone.
It probably will be a little bit different after we're gone. These pieces were picked out intentionally by me, being the first black woman speaker. I have ancestors in the sistership surrounding me, making sure that I'm okay in this room. And oh, thank you. That just gave me a chill. Making sure that I'm okay in this room, and really any place that I walk on this side of City Hall, you will see representation of Black women leaders, Black women who have come through some things in our country, have come out triumphantly, have led, have bled, and have died in the interest of making our country and our lives a better place. And they always have my back, particularly in this room where so often the questions come and they come fast and furiously. I never know what the questions are going to be, but if I look to my left and my right and in front of me, I know that I'm protected.
Okay, one more meeting. Best of luck with that. And thanks so much for all the time you spent with us.
What a pleasure. Thank you, Errol.
It is time for a break now. When we come back, I'll talk more about my conversation with City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams with my politics panel. Stay with us.
In Focus with Cheryl Wills, a weekly show discussing decisions and potential solutions for issues making an impact in your community and your city. If it's important to New Yorkers, then it's being talked about here. In Focus with Cheryl Wills, Sunday mornings at 10:30 on New York One.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. We just heard from outgoing City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams about a variety of topics, from her relationship with Mayor Adams to her council's accomplishments under her leadership. Joining me now to talk about that and much more is my weekly politics panel. Susan Kang is a political science professor at John Jay College and a leading member of the New York City Democratic Socialists of America. And joining us, as he does every Wednesday, is New York One political commentator Gerson Barrero. Thank you both for being here. How do you think Adrienne Adams did? Assess her tenure as council speaker.
That's an interesting question. I thought you were going to ask how she did in the interview. I thought that she did a good job, but like she had a challenging set of conditions, right? So post-COVID, the quote-unquote migrant crisis, a mayor in legal limbo. I do think that like by a certain point in the Adams administration, things started to run a bit better. And I think that she did a great job being a speaker, considering those conditions, which she did not have any control over.
And consider, and I think most people forget, that she was not supposed to be the city council speaker. They had, there was a councilman from Queens also, who actually, he had all the votes. And then all of a sudden it was an interesting dynamic of this new council. People forget with the dominance of a majority of women on the council, and that made a huge difference. We had never had that in the city council. So I think she's handled it extremely well, extremely, which is a word that I don't give too kindly to politicians, a difficult time. A person who was a charlatan in Eric, we're all disappointed, even though, and you and I had discussions, you know, is he really running for mayor, on air, off air? So a person who didn't know, he wanted his shot, he got his shot, he blew his shot, but expected everybody to treat him, especially black folks in power, including in the media, who expected special treatment because, oh, I'm the second black mayor. You know, I walk on water. I don't do any wrong. And she did, I mean, it was difficult for her to deal with that because they went to high school together and stuff. But I think she really did it well. I think she got a bum shot from New Yorkers not considering her more seriously during the primary, but in their infinite wisdom or, you know, stupidity, they made the decision. I think she did a good job. She can walk with her head high. I still think that she should be the lieutenant governor for Kathy Hochul next year. That's
You're the one who keeps saying
I'm the only one. What can I say?
And I have the pundit, right? Who's the pundit who's been increasingly saying this?
Well, she's never tried to discourage you. She just says she hasn't made up her mind. Councilmember Vicky Palladino, who I asked her about, she posted this bigoted statement for which she has specifically refused to apologize. How should in a broad sense, how should a democratic and open society deal with an elected official who insists on saying things like that?
Well, we can start with the president of the United States. Look at what he's saying about everybody. He you know, right now he's on Venezuela, surrounding Venezuela and calling them drug dealers and all. We've gotten to a point of acceptance. And in New York, I expect better. I expect New Yorkinos to actually go, you know what we should do? We should go and picket her. I mean, I know she's entitled to have her constituents to do that. We have to chastise her. We have to picket her at city council. I'm not saying anything violent. Don't get me wrong. But we still have a right to do that. Reject her. Not only Muslims. We should unite with Muslim groups and reject her vile comments and tweeting. And she should be out of office. She should be out of office and not, look, they made a decision. Her constituents have to hold her accountable. I don't think they want that kind of representative in any, either municipal government, state government, or federal government. That should not be tolerated. And New Yorkers know better. Let's do something about it.
You know, it's interesting because she is term limited. And the reality is she'll be out of office in 48 months. And I can confidently predict there'll be a lot more Muslims in New York City at that point.
True.
So, I mean, I think that if you don't believe that that kind of speech belongs and you're an elected official, you need to denounce it first and foremost. And like, there's been calls for censure. I think that that's really important. But the thing is that we live in a democratic society where elections happen and people do cheap shots, and people running for office might try to curry favor with those who share abhorrent beliefs. We saw a lot of Islamophobic things and said statements, tropes in our general election for mayor. This is not just a Vicky Palladino problem. This is a broader problem in which there's a certain amount of tolerance for this intolerance. And I think that, we need to call it out. We need to say it's unacceptable. And, to say that hate speech against any group is not part of a society that's based on liberal values. And by that, I just mean equality.
I almost wonder if there were talking points circulating, because I think there are at least 2 members of Congress who put out sort of similar statements at more or less the same time. So I don't know if this is an attempt to sort of initiate a policy or create a permission structure so that people can, sort of talk crazy any which way and aim hate speech at different people. It's really kind of an...
Well, if there are talking points, let's find out about it. But clearly, there's something going on that may be not organized. It doesn't need to be. It's just that, as you say, that, it's a democratic society. We have to accept free speech. I don't think we have to. Your opinion is your opinion. I can, I can respect the right for you to do it. I don't have to agree with your opinion, and I can reject it.
Well, as you said, protesters have free speech too, and so does the next Speaker of the Council.
But I do think that I think that this is an attempt to hurt democracy, though, right? Like people who say these kinds of things want there to be more violence. They want there to be more distrust among groups. So spreading hate is the idea of people who want to empower, like, people like Donald Trump who want to engage in executive overreach. So don't get me wrong, I abhor the speech. And I think it's part of a broader playbook to create distrust. And you can't have democracy with distrust, right? You just can't.
All right, let's take a short break. We've got more to talk about with this politics panel. We'll do that in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
We have so many ways to stay connected. A single touch can bring us closer to the families we love, the friends we know, and the city we share. And Spectrum helps us keep connected throughout the day, every day. Including more ways to watch New York One as a Spectrum Internet customer. Watch Spectrum News New York One on the Spectrum News app, available on all your favorite devices.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month, as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it's saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day with in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where I am once again joined by my politics panel. We have Susan King and Herson Barrero here. And folks, in 15 days, Mayor Adams will have the whole rest of his life to not be mayor, but he couldn't wait for that opportunity. Why is he in Mexico tonight on what he says is personal business? It's almost worse in a way. Personal business meaning he's not working. Right. Even though there's only 15 days.
I, too, wish I was in Mexico, given the current weather. But it's clear that he's been checked out for a long time. And I believe friends and I were looking up how long can a mayor be away before the, who is it that steps up?
The public advocate steps in. Yes.
But he basically is staying right within a very thin margin of his absences.
Mm-hmm. What's noticeable here is that we don't need him. He goes out and making it worse for himself. Who comes up, in what mind, you're going to bury a little box with reminders of the good? What is wrong with you? You've been a failure. And then he he refuses to even engage with the press in like a year-end kind of thing. If you want to leave, dude, leave. You got people here that will run, the city runs itself at this point. There's a new administration being put together. Just don't come, but don't keep being nasty, because we're going to be judging you. And here we'll be talking to you until you finally, December 31st, and you're gone. It's adios, goodbye. Nobody wants to hear from you. Nobody's interested in even reviewing your, whatever you did, you say you did. I'd like to know, what happened? How did you get this whole thing from Brooklyn Biden to now being, a lapdog for the things that Donald Trump does? I just can't.
It is a very dramatic political collapse. I don't think we've seen anything.
Yeah, everything
in quite a while.
I do feel like he thinks that he's rewriting the rules in general. Like, I think he felt that way when he became elected, right? Like, I'm somebody who came from a modest background, and I've always been very independent, right? Like, endorsed Bernie in 2016. And so I think this is part of his brand, though. Like, the old rules don't apply to me. I make the rules, and because I'm me. I'm Eric Adams.
Well, I assume he's got vacation days, but I was wondering if he should even get his last paycheck. I mean, if you're really just not going to show up, right? Like, not even come in the building. Should Governor Hochul be worried? We looked at the Siena University poll this week. It shows that she's polling under 50%. So while she's 20 points ahead of her nearest rivals, under 50% means most New Yorkers are not completely sold on her, and that leaves the door open to independents and undecided voters breaking for a newcomer. What does she need to do?
Well, I think that she doesn't need to go more right. I think that that's sort of the impulse by a lot of moderate Democrats. Like, I need to be a little more right. I don't think that's a winning strategy for her. I think that she's actually, I think, polling better in terms of the margin than she was in the past. So, I mean, pulling my string, I'll say it was great for her to ally with Mamdani, and she can continue on that path. Like, make yourself really different from the right.
Well, at least you gotta, swim in where the river is flowing, and she's doing that so far, and she has not. Let's face it, we are on a high. New Yorkers in general, whether you voted for Mamdani or not, we're on a high. We're going into a different, taking a different turn around the corner. We don't know what's there. That's exciting also. And it's a young person. It's a young people's game right now. The viejos are just watching to see where they screw up, and I admitted as a viejo that I'll see where you're going to screw up and what people are going to do. By the way, the appointments that he's made so far, this town is a pro-union town, but it is not union people who actually contribute to the coffers. Be careful, Mamdani, because you could get into trouble, because if organized labor going to be running your shop, it ain't going to fly.
Well, they certainly would be heard from under any circumstances. He's just bringing them all the way in camp, We'll see how that all works out. Listen, thanks so much for coming by. Great talking with the both of you. That is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks for watching, and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
That's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything.
Hey, brother, be careful.
Movies.
I've got this condition where I don't feel pain.
You're a superhero.
No. Series.
There was another murder in the building.
Sports. Reality.
Here's to a summer you'll never forget.
News.
Here's a look at today's top story.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
Even more of your favorites with live TV.
Welcome into First Take.
Stream across your devices and watch anywhere. At home or out and about. It's the entertainment experience you've been waiting for. Streaming apps included at no extra cost.
Just got that, pal. Get a good look.
With live TV and on demand. All together, all in one place for you to enjoy.
It's whatever kind of adventure we want it to be.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for Onstage.
On Stage is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Discover which Cadillac is right for you and elevate your journey.
New Year's Eve is on New York One.
And we've got a spot for you in the center of the city's biggest celebration.
So join us as we say goodbye to 2025 and hello to a whole new year.
Countdown to 2026 live Wednesday, December 31st, starting at 11 p.m. Only on New York One, available on all of your favorite devices.
Countdown to 2026 is presented by your local Tri-State Jeep brand dealer.